Welcome to Enter In Through the Hurt. Now, what does that mean? It means where you hurt psychically, emotionally, is where the healing will occur. In this work, we're calling this type of work reparenting. How do you best reparent yourself? I'm putting this in the coping skills playlist because this is ultimately the ultimate coping skill. The ultimate coping skill. If you want to know more about how to enter in through the hurt, then stick around and watch this video till the end. Hello, my name is Jesse. Welcome to the channel Open Source Owners, where we ask the question, what would it be like if humans had an owner's manual? Well, reparenting would definitely be in the owner's manual. All right, let's check it out. Okay, so let's go into Reparenting 101, and I'm going to go fairly quickly. Each of these bullet points is a tangent unto itself, which is what the basis of this whole channel is. All right, number one, we learned safety and non-safety from our parents. The technical word here should be primary caregivers, because it may not be your parents, but I'm going to use parents as a shorthand. So safety and non-safety, very critical. You're not born into the world knowing how safety looks. Both safety and non-safety can ultimately be mixed with things that are unhealthy for us. And we won't know that until much later in life because we will have been in our programming phase as children being programmed by our parents or our primary caregivers. Doesn't mean they were doing it on purpose or they were doing a bad job on purpose. It just means that what we witnessed, what we experienced in our nervous system and our programming was not how it is, it's just how it was for us. Number two, we learn self and non-self from our parents. The critical enmeshment phase where we're completely relying on parents eventually gives way to the individuation stage where we're able to do and care for our own needs and ultimately care for others' needs. Now, what if your parents continually blurred the boundary for you as a child in all sorts of ways? Inappropriate touch, inappropriate closeness, inappropriate neglect, inappropriate harm. All these things can confuse the child who is in a programming stage at this age as to what is self and what is non-self, what is healthy in terms of boundaries and what is not healthy. We don't know until we're much older. Number three, this is all done through the vagus nerve. That's the 10th cranial nerve. And through the vagus nerve, this is regulated in the child, in the developing child, before speech, before common knowledge of the culture. The child is learning and picking up on safety and non-safety, self and non-self through these important mechanisms. Eye contact, which is controlled by the vagus nerve. Facial gestures, also controlled by the vagus nerve, and tone of voice, also controlled by the vagus nerve. It's those non-verbal and sort of tone of voice is verbal, but it's not word specific. It's those clues and the consistency of those that teach the child the aforementioned number one and number two. This is then encoded into our nervous system and into something that we then call the subconscious mind in psychology. Subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times faster than the conscious mind, and it basically is how we operate in day-to-day life. Number four, this all sets up our attachment style, which is basically how we view ourselves and how we view others and how our relationships play into each other in terms of our safety, non-safety, in terms of self, non-self, in terms of emotional regulation, in terms of being able to set boundaries, in terms of being a healthy, happy human being. All this stuff, all the trajectory of one's life is set into motion in these very early stages by what we later call your attachment style. Number five, if our parents were not good at emotional regulation or safety signaling or secure attachment patterns generally, then we cannot know these somatically. Now, somatically just means within our body. We don't know it as a lived, felt experience. And because we don't know that as a lived, felt experience, what we do is called reenactment. We reenact what we did know about self and non-self, what we did know about safety and non-safety. We will reenact those conditions in our relationships to get those same feelings met, even if they are met in a toxic, unhealthy way. Number six, reparenting then is the process of being your own best parent, reteaching your somatic experience, your body, what it's like to be safe, what it's like to set boundaries, what it's like to emotionally regulate on your own. It's a body experience. It's done through the vagus nerve, and it affects ultimately our attachment style to others. And the real work of all therapy is called reparenting. How can we reprogram our subconscious mind and reprogram our conscious interactions in the world so that we're wise, healthy, protected, safe, sovereign, independent, happy, right? We want to be those things so we can actually benefit all of our other relationships. And that's the work of reparenting. How do you enter in through the hurt? Okay, look at bullet point number 1 here. First, observe your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. Those are the classic responses. Now, you probably know fight, flight, and freeze. Fawn is caring for someone else's needs. The classic example is if dad comes home and he's upset, a fawning response would be to get dad a beer, to put on his favorite TV show, to try to make him laugh. Those are fawning responses. Bullet point number 2, vow then to speak to that part of yourself, that flight, fright, freeze, or fawn response, in a curious and accepting manner. Here's some examples of what that might sound like. You might be literally talking to that part of yourself, wherever it is, and maybe it's in the chest or the belly, etc. And you say, what's going on with you right now? Why do you think you are feeling so triggered? What are you afraid of? And you say it with open curiosity like you would to a child, a pet, a friend, someone that you don't have any acrimony with. You're just being kind. So you speak kindly and openly with softness to yourself. And this is a practice, gets better with time. Last bullet point, reparent that part. So now you're talking to this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. You're talking to your emotional regulation. You're asking what's going on, why it's happening. And then you do the reparenting question. What would be the best response that I could give you right now? How can I help you? This is the fundamental practice of reparenting. Does it take work? Of course. Are there many parts inside of you? Yes. Can you resolve them all? Can you reparent them all? Absolutely you can. And I would say it's your birthright to be what we would call a whole human being, without exiles, without parts of ourselves that we no longer love, without parts of ourselves that we want to just hate and get rid of. Nope, that's not the way forward. We must incorporate it all. And the pathway is through the hurt. Nobody likes to hear that, but that's the truth. The hurt is where you learn what the specific treatment is for you. All right, questions for the comment sections. Have you ever talked to your parts in a kind and caring way, thereby calming yourself? Have you ever had any success with that? Casper, stop. What do you wish your parents reflected back to you or said to you that you didn't hear often enough? So that's a huge question, but that gives you a sense, a thread into this reparenting work. It's whatever the answer is that comes to your mind. I wish dad would have said this to me more often. I wish mom would have said that to me more often. That's precisely the positive affirmation that you want to then use in your own reparenting. When you're feeling emotionally dysregulated, use that exact phrase. Get so dang comfortable with it that you actually begin to truly be your best parent. You actually begin to be able to calm yourself better than anybody else on earth could calm you. And then you become a truly valuable partner, friend, coworker, etc. because you can do the regulation, right? You're not relying on anybody else. You're not burdening your partners or your children with, they must help you regulate. Nope, you got it from here on out. Now that's the goal. It might take some time and you might need some support to get there. And speaking of support, I want to encourage you to check out the Home Mentorship program. That's my mentorship subscription service. You can check out the 4 main domains that we talk about all the time in this program. It's priced very affordably, so you can get a little bit of mental health support or personal development support on your journey. So go ahead and click the link below if you're interested in that, and I hope to see you on the inside. That was Enter Through the Hurt, the ultimate coping skill. How do you manage emotional dysregulation? How do you ultimately manage things like trauma and trauma responses? Well, of course you can get therapy, of course you can get specific help, and we'll talk more about in this channel, but ultimately all you need is right here. The work of reparenting, being very dogged about it, never sort of giving up on yourself, and continuing through these different parts in soothing them by being your own best parent. On that note, everybody, thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. If you made it this far, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. That helps the algorithms reach more people just like yourselves, and we appreciate that around here, of course. So thank you again, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.